large language models have been gaining better and better understanding of what is the core human nature. The data that was used to train GPT-3 will take a single human 20,000, not days, not hours, 20,000 years to read. We're going to be orchestrating different types of agents that perform different types of tasks. We're going to be managers.
Hugo Alves is the founder of Synthetic Users, a technology company that uses AI to simulate customer interviews. When used correctly, Synthetic Users can help accelerate the development of new product ideas. Join me as we dive into Hugo's perspective on how AI is reshaping innovation and product design. You've been riding the cutting edge now of LLMs and AI for several years. You noticed pre-ChatGPT interesting things were happening. What do you see coming up that's got your interest?
I think it's agentic stuff. It's going to be the next frontier. When we stop using LLMs in a single shot kind of approach, and we start building complex systems in which we have agents with different roles that complement each other. One thing that everyone that works with LLMs understands quite well is that the narrower the task that you provide and the narrower the request that you give to the model, the better the model performs. And also, it allows you to create more of a role and a persona. And also, if that role and persona is well done, the results get better. But I think one thing that I can see in the future is products that build products. A product that you just go there and you say, we are X company, we have these capabilities, and we want to serve this consumer group that we are not serving today. And an agent-based system goes and generates synthetic users of that group, interviews them to understand what problems they have, takes those problems and pass them to an agent that is able to assess from the company's capabilities, which of those problems are more feasible to be solved with the existing company's capabilities. From that, you pass it to an ideation specialist that goes and brainstorms ideas of products that could serve that user group. Another one that assesses technical feasibility until they end up going more into the production. Then you test those concepts again with synthetic users, and this with a loop until you get maybe 3 to 5 fully formed prototypes of something that could serve a new user group, and even validated with human interviews. So instead of having researchers go and interview humans, that product goes and interviews humans. That is something that we'll end up also having on synthetic users. I think there's a complementarity between synthetic and organic that we need to bet a lot more on. And that product will eventually validate or invalidate the prototype with humans. So end-to-end product building.
I love the vision that you're laying out. If there's established knowledge that can be understood and assimilated and leveraged, you can do this kind of chain. So for creating products that are brand extensions or similar with a twist to something that already exists, which is what most products are, frankly, right? So I think I fully understand that workflow for creating that kind of product. But based on my own experience, where I don't think that will be, at least in the first versions of it, where I don't think that kind of chain will be able to perform is in truly innovative products. So here, let me give you an example. So years ago, I worked for a online toy rental company. They rented online toys, especially expensive toys like really complex Lego sets. And they would rent them rather than having the parents purchase them. And the team wanted to develop the next version of the platform. And they had 20 ideas on a whiteboard and they could not figure out which ones to build. And the very top idea was, we want to build an online community, because then we can cross-sell other services and we can make more money. And the marketing team and the business team had run spreadsheets. And they had done some initial research that showed that a lot of their members who they wanted to target were in online communities. And if you had done a synthetic user study of the online members, they would have come back as being people that loved online communities that usually were part of several, right? And so they were like ready to go. But I said, look, let's just find a slice of your customers who are your true early adopters, your super fans, and let's talk to them. And what we found out was that, yes, they were all members of several online communities. And the last thing they wanted was another online community. They were like, I am full up, man. But let me tell you, as a parent who's a member of your service, you know what I want? I want walkthrough videos of how to use these toys on YouTube, which was an emerging channel then. I want this very specific thing because my kid is 8 and he's really smart, but he gets stuck with those big Lego sets. Why don't you just put some videos up on YouTube? You could even have kids star in the videos. And we're like, holy shit. So they launched a YouTube channel instead of launching a community. That would have never come from the synthetic users. And it blew all of us away. I was surprised. I would have thought for sure they would want another community. Look, they love community, right?
At the same time, you pushed back and you said, let's talk to them first. So as convinced as you were, as much as you had an intuition that, yes, the community might be valid, there was also some skepticism on you saying, hey, let's validate first. Since it's an historical thing, it's hard for me to say nowadays they would say that.
Yeah.
But then that nowadays they would say, I don't want another community. So Ilya Sutskever, one of the founders of OpenAI, he has this amazing interview in which Ilya describes LLMs in a really interesting way that when I first heard it, we were already working on synthetic users, but it kind of blew my mind. Essentially, what Ilya says is that although when we're training large language models, the only thing we're training that model to do is to predict the next word. It seems like a really dumb task. A lot of critics of large language models really use this expression as fancy autocomplete.
Right.
But what Ilya says is that for a model to be able to do this accurately, the model needs to have some kind of a world model. And a world model is essentially an internal representation of how the world in which we live works, in terms of institutions, in terms of dynamics, in terms of who is part of it, and that includes humans. And it says specifically that it needs to understand what are the things that people aspire to, what are the things that people want, what are their challenges, how do social dynamics play out. And this is my core belief regarding large language models. Large language models have been gaining better and better understanding of the core human nature. What are the main drivers of human psychology, irrespective of culture? There's a reason why we can read a book that is 700 years old and still make sense of it, because there's some core stuff to humans that is shared. And models are getting extremely good at it. And that's why they're so good at persuasion. So GPT-3, an old model by today's standards, the data that was used to train GPT-3 will take a single human 20,000, not days, not hours, 20,000 years to read. And within that data, there's cultural experiences of almost any place on Earth, on almost any moment in history. And that's why they also have the nuance of understanding that the cultural values in Western societies are different from Eastern societies, that people who grew up in a more collectivist society have different drives than people who grew up in more individualistic societies like Portugal. And the models are really, really good at this. The challenge is kind of shaping them and guiding them. People are like, oh, when I try to do that, synthetic users in ChatGPT is I tell them a really bad idea, like a potato gun that you throw mashed potatoes at people's heads. And he says, it's an amazing idea. And I know that's true in ChatGPT. If you try to pitch a potato gun to some kind of synthetic user, my synthetic users will say, a potato gun? Are you stupid? Do you want me to kill someone? We're going to get all messy. So they understand a lot better. It's all about scaffolding systems. You asked me a little bit ago of what I was seeing things going, what I was excited about. I think if no new model came out, if we froze all model development and the models we have today would stay state of the art for 10 years, do so much to unlock, because now the models aren't just the building blocks. I look at myself as a Lego builder. I have models with different capabilities, and if I assemble them in a special way, they make a new thing. It's just about scaling complex systems that leverage models in novel ways. Can these models create scientific theories that we can test and see if they are really good at this or not? And most times, as you also mentioned, we're not doing that when we're building products. We're not creating a fundamental new product. We're doing remixing of stuff that worked in the past with some other approach. Facebook was not the first social network. This is one of those things. People are like, oh, no, there was MySpace. There were countless social networks. What they managed to nail was how to distribute, how to build it. It was the focus. So I think these models are not yet there, but there will come a time in which they're going to be capable of remixing stuff and joining different areas in a way that creates something that is really valuable.
Yeah, and we will see how human in the loop works at that point, right? Because that's really the question. Is there a human in the loop? And if so, what role do they play? More and more, they're orchestrating agents.
We're going to be managers. We're going to be orchestrating agents, and we're going to be doing a bigger redesign in the coming months for synthetic users. And that is going to be the role that we're going to give our customers. They're going to be more of agent managers, in which they will control different types of agents that perform different types of tasks. And that is going to be more and more the human in the loop role. It's about figuring out how to best extend what we are good at and leaving the work that is less interesting to the AIs.
It's interesting. I think in that world, very obviously handcrafted things will have skyrocketing value because they'll be so different. Human handcrafted things. But we'll see.
With all the stuff that was industrially made in China, Etsy was focused on kind of crafts and people doing things that you need to put a lot of effort and heart on them, grew a lot. One thing doesn't necessarily remove the other.
Thank you so much, Hugo. I just really appreciate your educating us and being open to new ideas and taking us along for the ride. I feel like this technology is so powerful if we can understand how to interact with it, right? And just leverage it. So this is step one. To hear my full conversation with Hugo about synthetic users, watch this video next.